This analysis will examine a question that seems to transcend income levels and cultures. Why does the accumulation of money so rarely result in a feeling of sufficiency?
Our focus here isn't on absolute poverty. Instead, it's on the persistent sense of insufficiency that many people experience even after getting significant financial gains. It's a phenomenon that suggests our financial goalposts are in a state of continuous recalibration.
The central argument of this analysis is this: that feeling is not some kind of personal psychological flaw. It's actually a structural feature of the economic system itself. The system, it seems, isn't designed to deliver a sense of financial arrival. It's designed to maintain continuous economic motion.
To really understand this, we need to start by examining the neurological level. This is where our perception of satisfaction actually originates.
The key concept here is something called hedonic adaptation. You can think of it as a neurological efficiency mechanism. So when you're exposed to a new positive stimulus, like a raise or a big purchase, that initial emotional impact, it's temporary. The brain very quickly normalizes this new state, and it establishes it as the new baseline.
This happens in a predictable four-step process. First, a financial stimulus provides some temporary satisfaction. Then, the brain's neural reward circuits recalibrate to this new higher level. What was once a positive stimulus just becomes the new normal, the new baseline. And as a function of this adaptive process, the emotional impact fades.
Now, this internal mechanism is compounded by an external one. You see, financial well-being is not assessed in absolute terms, but in relative ones. The value of an income is determined through social comparison, a process that's only amplified by the constant visibility of curated lifestyles all around us.
So, let's turn to the external economic forces that interact with this internal psychology. This is where an individual's experience connects to the broader systemic structure.
The first external pressure is lifestyle inflation. As our earnings rise, our expenditures and financial commitments tend to expand right along with them. So increased income doesn't necessarily lead to financial freedom. Instead, it often results in higher fixed expenses, which creates a kind of financial inertia at a new, higher level of consumption.
And at the same time, inflation is continuously eroding the purchasing power of our currency. While nominal wages might go up, real wages, the actual functional value of that money, can stagnate or even decrease. This is especially true when the cost of essential goods and services outpace that wage growth.
This chart visualizes what's known as the productivity compensation divergence. The data clearly shows a significant increase in worker productivity over recent decades. But as you can see, real wage growth has not increased at a proportional rate. The surplus value that's generated by all that increased productivity is being absorbed somewhere else within the economic system.
So, given these internal and external pressures, let's examine the underlying logic of the system. This analysis suggests that this logic is oriented toward creating a very specific form of stability.
Persistent financial pressure can induce a documented psychological effect known as cognitive tunneling. Under conditions of scarcity, our mental bandwidth narrows and our focus shifts to immediate survival metrics. Long-term, strategic thinking is diminished. This cognitive state can, in turn, lead to a population that is more compliant and more predictable.
All of this reframes the entire concept of money. It becomes less of a reward for labor and more of a permission system. It's permission to access basic needs like housing and healthcare. It's permission to have stability. And debt in this model is a powerful tool that strengthens the system, creating predictable, long-term obligations that gradually replace individual autonomy.
So the system's priorities become quite clear. Behaviors that introduce unpredictability, things like mobility and risk-taking, are systemically discouraged. On the other hand, stability, compliance, and predictability are rewarded. The feeling of insufficiency becomes functional because it ensures continuous economic participation.
This brings us to the analysis's conclusion. Within this framework, that feeling of insufficiency is not an error to be corrected. It's a core component of the system's design.
This persistent financial discomfort can be understood as a signal. It functions as a feedback mechanism, one designed to ensure continuous engagement and participation within the economic structure. You could say it is the engine that drives economic motion.
Let's just consider the alternative. A system that generated widespread financial contentment would be a system in peril. If a large part of the population truly felt it had enough, consumption would slow, social comparison would weaken, and compliance would decrease. Widespread satisfaction is therefore a systemic threat to an economic model that's predicated on perpetual growth.
The final thesis, therefore, is clear. The absence of lasting financial satisfaction is not a systemic flaw. It is a necessary, functional, and intentional feature that ensures the system's continuity.
Why does it still feel like this isn't enough?